Okay. So I'm gonna learning web development from today at the code camp. And let us see how much could I learn. Yeah, let us see. An agent element is the main heading of our page, and we should only use one per page. If element represents subheadings, you can have multiple per page, and they look like this. Can the full stack curriculum turn into HTML element by surrounding it with its opening and closing HTML? Okay. Okay. Oh. Learn the skills to become a full stack web developer. Okay. Okay. When you need a paragraph to overtake, you can use P element like this. P is a paragraph element. Turn longest speech to become pushed verifier into paragraph element. There are six heading elements in HTML, H1 to H6. They are used to show the importance of six sentences on a web page, with H1 being the most important and H6 the least. Below your P element, add an H3 heading with the text. Add an H3 heading with the text. Introduction to HTML. So, section to HTML. So, notice that each heading looks a little different in the preview. Similar next, add another key element that displays following text. HTML represents the content and structure of our page. Okay. You're getting the hang of it. Next, add another HTML element at the bottom of the editor text introduction to CSS. While HTML defines the structure and content of the website, uses the key the style. The style brings it further stands within the below the history uses added as another paragraph element with the text. CSS is added as another paragraph element, another paragraph element. CSS is used to style a web page. So verifying JavaScript makes your page interactive. It lets you tell the page what to do when someone clicks a button, sends a form or manual response. For the last step of the workshop, add another page 3 and key element to the page describing JavaScript. First, add page 3 element with the text introduction to JavaScript. Okay. And below the page 3 element, add a P element with colon to JavaScript. Uh, 20 to so which JavaScript P beware Camperbot profile page. Camperbot is trying to build a profile page. They asked a friend to look over their code and they said it has some errors. The job is to fix all Camperbot's errors so that they can continue building their profile page, complete the items um, in the user stories below and click check your code to see you fixed all the errors. User stories Camperboard is trying to use a heading 2 element, but that element doesn't exist. Okay, heading 2 element that doesn't exist. Fix the tab so it uses correct second level heading element. Okay. Camperboard is trying to add two paragraphs with PP, but those doesn't exist. I fix them so they use correct paragraph tags. Okay. Camberwell is using an H3 element for the background and interest, surveying but it has syntax error for the and resolve it. Okay. And this solving puzzles. Okay. Okay. So what role does HTML play on web? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language is a markup language for creating web pages. When you visit website and see content like paragraphs, headings, links, images, and video stats. HTML. That is a small example using HTML elements by editing some of the text in the editor and see the changes update in the preview window. H1 main heading element is small example using HTML by editing some of the text in the editor and okay, and see changes update in the preview window. Paragraph element. Okay, not a paragraph element. Main heading element. HTML represents the context and structure of a web page. Through the use of elements, most elements will have an opening tag and a closing tag. Sometimes those tags refer to as start and end tags. In between those two tags, you will have the content. This content can be text or other HTML elements. Here is another example of a paragraph element. Change the text editor to say I love coding and see the result in the preview window. Okay, I love coding. Both opening and closing tags start with a left angle bracket and end with a right angle bracket with the tag name placed between these angle brackets. While HTML tag names are case sensitive, it is a widely accepted convention and this practice to write them in lowercase. Here is a closer look at the opening and closing type of tags. P, P. For distinguishes an opening tag from a closing tag is a forward slash placed immediately after the left angle bracket in a closing tag. Some HTML elements do not have a closing tag. These are known as void elements. There is an example of an image element, which is a void element. Image. Notice that image element doesn't have any the closing tag and it doesn't have any content. Void elements cannot have any content and only have a start tag. Sometimes you will see void elements use a slash before the greater than like this image greater than. While many code formatters like Ptr will choose to include the slash in void elements, the HTML spec states that The presence of the slash doesn't mark the start tag as self-closing, but instead of unnecessary and has no effect of any kind. Yeah. In real-world development, you will see both forms, so it is important to be familiar with both. If you wanted to display an image, you will need to include a couple of attributes inside your image element. An attribute is a special value used to adjust the behavior of an HTML element. Here is an example of an image element with a source attribute. Update the value of the source attribute, and you will see the image change to two cats peacefully sleeping. Okay, let's uh, choose a review to specify the location for that image. For image image to practice into another attribute called alt attribute, and the alt attribute is used to provide short descriptive text for the images. Here is an example of an image element with a source and alt attributes. Try breaking the image by updating the source value to cache photos. You will see image disappear and only the alt text shows. Two ubiquitous expressions together in a pouch. Okay. So you might be wondering if HTML by itself is enough to build a website. Well, the answer is it depends. If you're building a small package that only displays text and images, HTML alone might be sufficient. However, if you're creating a modern professional website, you will need to have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML is for the content and structure, CSS for styling. JavaScript is for adding interactivity, your web pages to your web pages. Good analogy for this is to compare HTML, CSS, and JavaScript with a complete building. HTML represent blocks, concrete, and irons that make the walls. It's the foundation that makes the building strong. CSS represents interior and exterior design that makes the house look beautiful. JavaScript represents the electrical and water system that ensures uninterrupted access to water and electricity. Hypertext markup language. Which of the following is a valid attribute? Okay. What are attributes and how do they work? An attribute is a value placed inside the opening of an HTML element. Attributes provide additional information about the element or specify how the element. Okay, specify how the element should behave. Uh, Here is the basic syntax for an attribute. Element attribute is equal to value element. The attribute name is followed by an equal sign and a value in quotes. The value can be a string or a number depending on the attribute. The first example uses the href and target attributes. The href attribute specifies the URL of a link, and the target attribute specifies where to open the link. Note: the A element is also known as the anchor element, is used to create hyperlinks that text between the opening and closing. A tags is the clickable part users slip to navigate. Enable the interactive editor and change the to okay. Okay. So let's see. Okay. Without the Easter attribute, the link would not work because there would be no destination URL. So you must okay. Okay. Other common attributes are the source and alt or alternative attribute, which is used to specify the source of an image and provide alternative descriptive text for the image respectively. Enable the interactive editor and change the to okay. To the HTML attribute, the source attribute is secured because it specifies the image file to be displayed for including those enable the interactive editor. Try clicking on the checkbox in the preview window. The alternate between check and the, in the following example. We have an input element with a type attribute set to checkbox. Inputs are used to collect data from users. The type attribute specifies the type of input. In this case, this input is a checkbox. We will learn more about how input works in the upcoming lessons. The check attribute is used to specify the checkbox should be checked by default. The check attribute doesn't require a value. If it is present, the checkbox will be checked by default. If the attribute is not present, the checkbox will be unchecked. This is known as Boolean attribute. You will learn more about Booleans in general when you go to JavaScript section. Enable the interactive editor and interactive editor. At removing check input, you will see that checkbox is no longer checked by okay. There are several common Boolean attributes you will see you will encounter in HTML such as disable, read only. Because these attributes are used to specify the state of an element such as whether it is disabled, read only, or required. Here is an example of a text input element that is disabled by default. Enable the interactive editor and try clicking input element in the preview window. Now remove the disabled attribute from the input element and you will see the input is no longer disabled by default. Okay. HTML has one attributes that can be used to customize the behavior and appearance of elements on a web page. Understanding how to use attributes is essential for creating interactive and accessible web content. Over the next few lessons, you will learn about more HTML attributes and how to use them effectively in your web development projects. Question. Which of the following is an example of Boolean attribute? Mm, What is the role of an attribute in HTML? following is the correct syntax for a Boolean attribute. Debug update adoption page, understanding HTML boilerplate. Sally, a paid adoption store owner, has built her first web page, but there are some issues. Your job is to fix all of the errors so Sally can continue building her page. Fulfill the user stories below and get all the steps got to pass to complete the life. User stories, Sally wants to use an image of some cats, but it is not displaying correctly. You will need to fix the following in the image element. The Easter attribute with the correct attribute. For the image source, replace the old attribute with the okay. Replace the href of the image. Let's see. So, the image old attribute. Okay. And now remove the image closing tag because image elements are void elements and don't have closing tag. Okay, so Sally want to use some links to direct users to the dog and cat pages, but the links are not working correctly. You will need to fix the following in the A element. Replace both research the attributes with the correct attributes used by specify URLs. Both research the attributes with the correct attributes used to specify URLs. Okay. Your image element. Okay. Understanding the HTML boilerplate. Okay. Hmm. Let's learn about the link element and how to use it to link external style sheets. The link element is used to link external resources like style sheets and site icons. Here is the basic syntax for using the link element for an external CSS file. Link rel is equal to style sheet, which style is CSS. The rel attribute is used to specify the relationship between the link resource and the HTML document. In this situation, you need to specify that this link resource is a style sheet It is considered best practice to separate your HTML and CSS in different files. Developers will use the link element for their HTML CSS file instead of writing everything in the HTML document. The href attribute is used to specify the location of the URL for the external resource. A dot followed by a forward slash in the example tells the computer to look in the current folder or directory for the style or CSS file. The link element should be placed inside the head element as seen in the following example head meta chart set. Okay. Again, time you will see multiple link elements inside a professional code base that link to different styles, its fonts and icons. Here is an example of using the link element to link to an external Google font called Playwright QR. Google Fonts are a set of free and open source custom fonts that you can use inside any project. You can choose which fonts you would like to use, and Google will provide you with the necessary HTML and CSS node. In this example, the pre-connect value for the rel attribute tells the browser to create an early connection to the value specified in the HTML attribute. This is done to speed up loading times for the external time for the external resources. Another common use case for the link elements is to link icons. Here is an example of linking to a Favicon, Favicon, Favicon.ico. A Favicon, which is short for favorite icon, is a small icon typically displayed in the browser tab next to the site title. A lot of websites using Favicon to display their brand icon. What is the role of link? Favicon. Okay, today it's enough for now, and I will be live tomorrow or any other day.